what's happening, everybody? This is Can I Get More Podcasts in My Monitor, and I am Johnny Ruckus. I hope all is well today. Hope everybody's doing real good today. I got a great freaking show for you today. I got David Drejas from the band OUTDrejas. I met them, almost 2 years ago at this point. Became real fast friends. He's a great dude. Super excited for you all to hear this. OUTDrejas.com. We talk all sorts of how the band started, and just have a lot of fun. I laugh so much. He's got so much character. He's so funny. He is a character, and just a great overall dude, full of positivity and excitement. It's contagious, so you can't help but be in a good mood and be happy when you're around Dave or you just hear him talking, So awesome show. I'm super excited for y'all to hear it. Just a couple little housekeeping things right quick. Facebook and Instagram, go to @podcasts on my monitor if you want to watch or follow the show there. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @the Johnny Ruckus. If you want to follow me on those social media platforms, twitch.tv / the Johnny Ruckus will get you the Twitch. You'll have to do the search for the YouTube channel, but my video version of the podcast goes up every week. Obviously, you can find the podcast version, anywhere you find your podcast. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, you name it, it's there. So I'll just stop yakking. This is a good one. You want to listen to this. David Drejas from OUTDrejas. Thanks, everybody.
I got some finding drummer stories for you, man. Talk about it. I got a few. I mean, there was one point I think we had 6 or 7 drummers drumming for us at the same time, and they all knew they all wanted to be like just temporary, But we'd have multiple shows in one day with different drummers. It was kind of. It just, we got Jeremy now, and he's, become a staple, and it's awesome, and he's a hell of a drummer, and he's fun to work with and stuff. But like before him, we there was one show in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We got a show, and we couldn't find anybody that wanted to play it with us, and we booked it, and the show must go on.
Yeah.
So we just showed up with a drum set. We drove to Michigan with a drum set.
No kidding.
And we got one of the opening band's drummers was phenomenal. I mean, you could kind of, you get up to it. You can see enough, other local bands perform. You kind of, it doesn't take you long to kind of point out, all right, well, that guy's, that guy's good. That guy's all right. You don't want to necessarily shit on people, but like you can kind of tell, and we saw that we just needed somebody. And then we got kind of spoiled because the guy that was there, he was playing with a band called Michigama, I think. It was like a Michigan pun. So it kind of worked out with the OUTDrejas thing going on there. But, I could kind of tell he had like some metal and maybe a little bit of jazz chops. And if you can do those two things, a lot of our songs, especially early on, we wrote them to be simplistic on purpose because we didn't really ever have the same musicians. So it was always like you still got to go out and play. You got to do something. And if you're a perfectionist about it, you're not going to get anywhere. You got to go out and make some friends. You got to go out, get some fans. You got to go out, get some experience on your own belt so you can get better at that's why a lot of our old original songs are in 4/4 time, and they.
There's nothing wrong with that, and plus if you're doing that, you set up a pocket, and if the drummer can play in time, he's going to hit the pocket.
Boom.
Smooth sailing.
I mean, that's we've had so many things go wrong in shows, and it actually becomes almost like a skill you have to build of like, all right, how do you keep rolling?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you keep rolling through that? And so that's why it kind of helps where, we almost set ourselves up for failure sometimes with just running out in the crowd and giving the guitar. You kind of can do that after you've driven to Michigan without a drummer. That's easy, So like that's it's and as long as you're having fun, other people hopefully will have fun too, and that's why we're all here. I mean, why are you, when we're playing, why are you watching my band? Hopefully to have fun. I mean, I don't know, you might have a different reason, but at least there's got to be some people that fall into that category. So that's, if do whatever you can to make that happen, So I know you know what that's about. You guys did like a 15-minute wrap off at the end of your show when we saw you. It was awesome, and it was random, and it was everything. Like, I went home like legitimately wondering if I should like do like our own version of that, and I don't have it in me. I'm not. I could maybe spit out a half of an Eminem song, or or like a Jay-Z tune once in a while or something. But like I couldn't do what he could do,
Yeah, that one it's called the Freestyle Funk. You don't believe how much time we put into that damn thing.
It shows. It was a hell of a way to go off. It was like, man, that was nuts, That was like super memorable. That was super cool. And I'd never seen anything else like it. I mean, it was even better that it was you guys doing it, and it wasn't like my buddy BC, he does a song with us called Castle Walls, and he is a hip hop artist, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, or when he comes in there and he, he's like guested with like A Place for My Head by Linkin Park with a friend of ours band before, that makes more sense. Like that's what he does. But you watch this whole show, and then there's this hidden talent at the end, and that's amazing. And I think that was every bit as what made it fun. Is just it's like it'd be like if at the end of the show, if I was like, all right, I'm gonna just show you really cool magic tricks now, like you know what I mean? It just kind of like it kind of fit in that mold of just wow. Wait, you're gonna go for that? Oh, you're really good at it. Okay, all right, you're like stupid good at it. You're not just going for it. You're actually like, this is just what you do, and you just want to surprise people that haven't seen you before, So it was cool.
Yeah, by the time you saw us, I was already in the band like 8 years, and we had gone off and on, and we'd done that whole thing. But like when I joined the band, they were doing that on a keyboard with the main thing, the main theme of the song on a keyboard with a steel drum sound. So it was just a keyboard, okay. And then Josh would rap and do this shit over it. So how I met them was the band that I was in previously. We played what ended up being that band's final show with 215. So it was neat how it worked out, because I met those guys when this band was going, and Josh that night asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to be in our band? And I'm like, I got this thing and I got to go play my set. Like, so, but
that's quite a good plan right there.
Yeah. So they played that, and I had seen videos. They were always putting videos up, and steel drum thing on a damn keyboard. So I'm like, okay. They're like, yeah, we got this thing called Freestyle Funk. It was in the baby stages then. And he was like, yeah, kind of like, yeah, I like that, but we're going to like do it. So I'm like, okay, I figured out the progression, and then we started piling shit, and it went through, we would change it all the time, and change stuff around and get creative. And then we had broken up, we had come back when we met you, we had just come back.
Sure. And right.
I was like, when we broke up previous years, I was like, oh, I don't want to fucking do that anymore. It's a gimmick, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. And then over the time of not having the band, and then it's like, that was a gimmick maybe, but A, it was fun. B, and
it was fun.
And people loved it. So it's like, okay, they get to
gimmick, man.
They got to listen to our bullshit original songs. All right, case in point, But, it's like, okay, they got to listen to our bullshit original songs. Let's give them something, So I was like, okay.
Sure,
and then when we came back in, I was like, oh, we're going all in on this thing. So,
it was also like, all right, you got shirts that say eat local and they got Jeffrey Dahmer on them.
Yeah.
And you got some heavy shit you're doing. And then you're just like, oh, by the way, here you go. I loved it. It reminded me of like, one of my favorite bands is Real Big Fish. I don't know if you're familiar, if you dive into them at all, really. I feel like you do, but I don't know why. A little bit. Yeah, I know some stuff. My best friend is actually a giant Real Big Fish fan. I keep telling him to check you guys out, but he forgets everything. But he would love you guys. Well, they, on their live album, which is probably, I listen to that thing so much, I know the words they say between songs and stuff. Like that's, how that goes with certain live albums. So we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
And that one, they have a song called SR. It's not even that great of a song, to be honest. But what they do is they play their version and then they go, wow, that sucked. We should try playing it as a punk rock song. And then they play the punk rock version. And they're like, well, that was terrible. We should never do that again. What if we make it a blues song? And they go through all these. They do country, they do a metal version. And their metal version's amazing. Like if they wanted to be a metal band, they'd be like the best metal band ever. Like they nail the distorted vocals there, and it reminded me a little bit of that energy where it was like, oh yeah, we're going to do rap and it's going to go on forever in a good way, not in a bad way. It's like, but it was like, because there is such a thing as a bad way, no, it's going to just be more impressive because every little piece is going to build on, and we're going to do it really, really well. Like we're going to do it better than rappers and hip hop artists do. But then that part's over, and we're gonna make fun of ourselves a little bit after the show, even for like. And I loved that because it reminded me of Real Big Fish, and I've listened to that so many times, and I was like, and I've seen them do it live like 5 times. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of theirs, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is the same reason I enjoy that. It's the same thing. So it was, if it wasn't done well, it wouldn't have been as cool. But you guys nail it, and that's what makes it extra funny, is to be that good at that thing. And I love that. And we've talked about doing our version of that. But our version would be, we play like a Lamb of God song or something, and we just get like a guest vocalist, because I can't do it. I can't do the Cookie Monster vocals. I'd love to. I respect it. It's a hell of a talent, but it's just not, and I'm not going to learn. I've watched some Melissa Cross videos. I've done, I'm not going to learn. But if we just had like that in our arsenal, we thought like, how fun would it be? We play a lot of these shows with these metal singers, other hard local bands. And if we pick a song that everybody knows, like Laid to Rest maybe or something, how fun would it be to just go, hey, are there any metal singers that want to come play Laid to Rest? But we'd have to be really good at it or it wouldn't be worth it. And like that would be that same, like it's that idea of just, you get super good at something and then only do it once. And it's, you don't market yourself as the band that does that. You just throw it at people randomly and then look at their jaw, just go out,
yeah, and you play it at the end. So if it catches on, it gets over, then they got to sit through all your crazy shit. I mean, sitting through one of your shows is like, let's say you guys play 45 minutes, is like, holy fuck, they're done already? No, I want more. Because we've all
appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, but we've all seen those bands where it's like, holy crap, they're not done yet. you know, and it's
right.
Even if you like them, sometimes it's just like, you know, they just don't do the thing live. It just, you know, something happens, whatever. But yeah,
it's tough. You gotta, if you play an hour show, think about how hard it is to entertain people for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like 3 episodes of The Office. They could be watching 3 episodes of The Office, but they're watching you. That's tough, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And and you know, sometimes, you know, and you always get those too when you're playing going, fuck, we got 20 minutes left. Can we just wrap this thing up early? Well, but it happens time to time. But yeah, you know, when we were doing that, and I was looking through, I came across some videos the other day, and there was a version of the Freestyle Funk, and I'm like, wow, we did that song? Like there was a bunch of stuff in it that I was like, oh, I don't remember doing that. So yeah, it was a constant thing. But yeah, to your point, or it makes me think of, you know, that movie, The Other Guys. It's got Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg in it.
Okay, I don't think I've seen it, but I do know what you're talking. It's on like, if it was on Netflix, I would click on it.
Oh,
that's my interest level. I don't want to see it, but I would watch it.
Yeah, it's super funny, but there's a part. Mark Wahlberg's character is this, you know, they're cops, you know, and he's this hard ass kind of wannabe cop, but he's got all these little talents, like he can dance really well. And he can play cello really well. And it'd be like, why do you know how to play cello? It's, so I learned it so I can make fun of the kids down the street because they weren't as good as I was. That's his whole point. So how are you talking about doing shit really well made me think of that for some reason. That's just
I mean, when you watch, I don't know if you ever watch How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah.
But Neil Patrick Harris's character, Barney, like, he's really good at magic, and they make that a really cool part of the show because he's just like actually does magic tricks on the set, and you're like, wow, you know, and so it's kind of fun once in a while to just pull something like that out if you you got it, you might as well, you know, and you guys did. So I feel like we could do the metal thing because, you know, Tyler, bassist, and Jeremy, our drummer. We stole them from a metal band.
Oh. Like
they are within the trenches, broke up. They were a metal band. You could look at, they got a few tunes on Spotify, you know, and it's legit, like a legit metal band.
Yeah.
And we just kind of took them and put them in our band. And, you know, there's a story behind each one, but like that, we have that foundation behind us. We're like, I mean, if your drummer can play the song, usually, like, and you can find a vocalist outside of your band, like, you can usually get through, you know, like, I'm not saying I'm going to play it as well as Mark Morton does or whatever, but, like, I could chug, if nothing else, you know, it's in D minor, just drop tune it, and all right, here we, you know, like, you could get through it. And I could just have Ani, our keyboard player, play the hard parts, you know, if we wanted to. So, or maybe I'll learn them too. But it would be either way. I think just, you know, I think they already know how to play that stuff. So it'd be fun to just accent their talents of like, all right, here you go. This is your guy. You know, you always want everybody to have a little time to shine in the show, you know, and I mean, they have a few spots where they get their solos or whatever, but still, just showing together, like, yeah, we can play a metal song, and it'll be good, because you can't be late. You got to be right on it, or your sloppy metal band, you know? So.
Yeah, you know, and doing something like that, okay, you find somebody, you know, you do like your standard, what you were saying, you know, find a vocalist, say, hey, come up and do this, right? But your drummer, you're right. The drummer's got to be there. You can fake through the guitar part. You know, you can do some slides and you make some noise. You can kind of fake your way through it. But if that drummer,
sure,
it sticks out like a sore thumb. So yeah, you're that idea, you're good. You're good.
If you have the drum, I mean, think about like vocalists. Like, do you really need to understand the metal vocalists? No, You just get a guy up there that if they're good, it'll be way cooler. And if they're not, they'll just start going, rah, and it'll be fine, because it's a gimmick. So it doesn't, if you do a gimmick well, it's amazing. But if you don't do a gimmick well, hopefully it's still funny. So you're kind of at least in this range of, you take a chance and your worst case scenario, hopefully, is that it was funny. Hopefully it wasn't just stupid.
Yeah. If the joke is obvious, if you're going for the joke and the joke is good, it's going to be cool.
Right. So that's, that for our our new song we just released, Folsom Prison, when we play that, that's obviously a Johnny Cash song. And we always talk about how we're a country and a Western band before we play that, and we're going to have a rootin' tootin' good time. And, obviously we usually play that and we're usually 3-4 songs deep, where it's obvious we're not a country Western, but it's just kind of fun. Like I don't like telling people who we are at the beginning of a show. I think, not that it's bad for anybody that does, but I've never been a fan of like, hi, we are Outrageous, and I'm David, and this is Ani, and that's Jeremy, and that's Tyler, and we're going to play for you right now. You almost have to say it that stupid for it to work, So a lot of times I'd rather tell people who we are after we're a few songs in, and maybe they care. Maybe they give a shit by the time that happened, but nobody cares. Nobody cares about what the local band's name is before they start playing. That's just not, even the regional band, because I don't know, you go, when you're local, every once in a while you feel like a regional band, right? You play enough shows out of state, you're like, oh, we're starting to, but so that's, I don't know. We get up on stage. A lot of times I'll say, hi, we're a band and we're going to play music. And then we start, and we don't tell you who we are, and then we tell you later, and we start introducing ourselves as a country and Western band around the Folsom Prison, and at least it makes you think. If you think in your head, they're not a country and Western band, then you just gave us an active thought.
Yep.
And how many bands have you not given an active thought about their whole show when you've seen them? You know how it is.
Yep.
So it's the dumbness of some of our stuff. Maybe it works and maybe it doesn't, but it is like based a little bit on psychology, because it try to. I've been recognized before. We had I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Lucky Boys Confusion.
Mm-hmm.
We opened for them once, and we just were the local band, and then I actually joined a fantasy football league with Stubby, the lead singer, who's really a cool dude, really cool. And we did a live draft, and I told him, like, we've opened for you guys before. And I started telling him about the show, and he's like, were you wearing like a blue suit? And that's why and then he sang on our Dayman song. That's our number one song on all the platforms. And I'm not saying it, he did a great job. So even if you don't know his name, even if his name isn't what's helping it, even if it's Always Sunny gimmick, like, he added a lot to that. He did an awesome, and it was just cool for me as a fan. So the gimmicks and all that, they really, I'm talking about your gimmick, and I spent a couple of years since I saw it, and I still remember it. So, I don't know, a little bit of a tangent, but I think that it's stuff's important.
Yeah, you got to find an angle. You can't be serious, because then it's, these guys take themselves way too fucking seriously. And
right, you gotta be just ridiculously good to be serious. Like, and
Tool's got that covered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you got to find an angle, and you got to be, but it can't be faked, because people will smell that out. You've been around long enough to know that if someone smells something that it ain't smell right, they're going to be like, that don't smell right.
Right. People want you to be some version of genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can give them that, then usually you can win their respect. In a lot of things in life, not just local music. If you can have just some version of genuine and your own, makes your personality in with it or whatever, but just if you're real in some level, it helps.
Yeah, I mean, like Josh, Eric, and myself, we're all pro wrestling fans, so it's like
okay.
The adage goes, "Be yourself, just turned up." It's the same thing. The most successful professional wrestlers are the ones that are themselves. They're just louder. It's the same. It's the same idea.
Right.
You're a super positive dude. You always have a smile on your face. So what if you got the suit? It doesn't necessarily matter you have the suit, but you always have that smile on your face. And I know, like, when we first met you, we hadn't met you before, we played with you, and it was like this
Sure.
guy, he walks in with a blue suit. He looks like an insurance salesman, but he's got a giant smile, and he's going, "Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Dave. I'm Dave." And it's just like, all right, you're not like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" You're like, "Huh, who's this guy?" And then eventually you made it over. It's like, that guy's awesome. That's who he is, and then that goes, that same thing, that same energy follows you to the stage. You don't, when the red light's on, you don't change, so if you
Sure.
met that person at your merch table, "Hi, I'm Dave, thank you for coming," yada, and then you go up there and you're like, that's the same guy. That automatically makes people like you. That's like, wow, that
Sure.
guy's genuine. That guy's genuine. At least there's that. So you guys do.
I
really
appreciate it, man. I appreciate all the kind words. It's a lot of fun to introduce yourself to everybody, I think, too, because a lot of our cool shows, and like, we've gotten a lot from just not being dicks in like life,
Mm-hmm.
and like, also, you're gonna like spend your night watching each other. It can be a little awkward sometimes. It's nice to break the ice and go, "Hey, who are you guys?" All right, it makes you want to watch the other bands because you want to support, everybody else. You want to, and you also just want to not be a dick. You want to have, like, there's times where you don't watch the opening bands, and I feel guilty when that happens, and I think that's good. I hope that never leaves. I hope that it is always, if I'm doing something more important than watching an opening band, I hope I feel a little bit guilty and I'm justifying myself somehow. I'm warming up somehow, or I'm whatever. I'm trying to sell some merch, but like, I think that's good. I mean, and it was fun meeting all you guys too. Like, I remember, I'm terrible with names, but I remembered your names after, like, I remembered your faces, and that's the most important part. If you remember someone's face, you don't really need to know their name as much, right?
Yeah,
you gotta pick one.
I'm in the same. I don't remember names, and it's like, I am, and like, you're an outgoing person, and I am not. I'm
Sure.
in here. So it's like, "Oh, hi, I'm, oh, hey, nice to meet you. What was that guy's name?" It's happens to me every time. But once
you worry about introducing yourself, you're not listening to them because you don't want to fuck up your introduction,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's like, I'm also visual. I don't learn things by hearing them. And it sounds weird as a musician, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, just in life, in school, and like, for me to remember your name, I need to read it.
Okay.
So as soon as I'm friends with you on Facebook or whatever, and I've read your name once or twice or three times, now it's in there. Now I know it. But that's another weird thing too. Like, if you tell me I won't know your name. But so sometimes, like, I'll actually try, like, write people's names down in my phone, and I'll go through it once or twice just to, but then you get that other aspect where you know everybody's name too well. And that's weird too. If you're like, if you walk in and like 10 minutes later, it's like, "Oh, hey, you," and they're like, "Who the fuck was that guy?" Like, that's, I've had that happen too. So I think there's a little bit of a gray area that, you know, you gotta. I was teaching a class once, you know, in my other life. I'm a software engineer, you know, so I'm Mr. Geeky, nerdy, you know, whatever. And so I was actually, one of my first jobs out of college, I was teaching this software engineering like course at this, you know, for this company, which was a cool gig for a kid out of school. Actually, it like made you feel like a big, like you're hot shit, right?
Sure.
But there was like 50 people in the course, and I wanted to know everyone's name. So the whole first day, I always write myself seating charts in those situations. And then while they're working on their labs, I'm like studying, man. And like, that's the only way you're ever gonna, like, otherwise you'll never know. You'll never, and you can connect with people if you know their name sometimes more, sometimes not. And knowing their face is usually 75%. You want that extra little bump, you know, a face and a name. Now you can almost, you're familiar now, you know, and then that's something. Humans like to be familiar with other humans.
Well,
so,
it gives it the indication or whatever that you give a shit. You know, because there's so much stuff that, you know, I mean, depending on, you know, how you look at the world, there's a lot of people that don't give a shit about other people, you know, so
exactly
these little things, you know, like, you know, you have your first, you got your gig as you're teaching this class, and the first thing you're doing is try to learn everybody's name. It's like, well, yeah, that you give a shit, and you want these people, the you know, these kids in this class to feel like you give a shit. And that's part of it is, hey, if you haven't seen a person in 6-7 months, whatever, you haven't talked to them, and you're like, and, you know, and there's, you know, take social media out of it, just for instance, if you're not social media friends, whatever, and you go, hey, Mike, you know, how is whatever? They go, holy fuck. he knows my name, or he knows, he remembered some detail. And it's just like, you know, you're automatically a good fucking dude.
Well, you know, you're almost telling that person in that sense, like, your existence mattered in my life because I remembered it, you know, and that's cool. And I mean, with the class, the other thing about it, not to make me sound like too good of a guy, is they all knew my fucking name because I'm, you know, the instructor. So
they have to.
I got sick of everybody saying, I learned it maybe the first hour of the class. Or, Dave, what? Who the hell are you? You know, like, so that's, you know, that was the other motivation too. I mean, you do care, right? Or otherwise you don't do it. But you also, it's weird when everybody knows you and you don't know them. That's weird sometimes, you know. It comes with the territory, and it's happened at shows, and, you know, I think that's the bigger you get, the more that'll happen with the music industry. But you do your best, right? That's my favorite band in the world is George Thorogood. And when I go on to his shows, like, there's 2 members of the band that know me. And that's amazing. That's like really cool. I mean, one of them, the Buddy Leach, their saxophone player, our next song we're going to release has got him on it. Like, that's how cool of a dude he is. He didn't charge us any money. He just sent him and it's an original song. He sent him a song. And, like, it took him, like, 3 hours, and he sent it back with amazing saxophone. Like, there's a solo on it. And it's like, holy shit. Like, if I could have any saxophone player in the world play on it'd be that guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that guy's autograph is hanging in my bedroom. Like, that's not to be weird, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, you idolize your favorite bands. Like, especially when you are playing in bands. Like, that's what you aspire to. And it just is so fucking cool. It just, and I love that. And I hope that if I'm ever at his level, I can do that for somebody, you know? Because that makes those 3 hours I've talked more about him than he spent for those 3 hours. Like, I'll guarantee you a lot. I've said that to a lot. I'm proud of that shit, man. Because no one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
How many people get to record a song with somebody in their favorite band since they were 6? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think it matters. I definitely have been inspired by people to always think, just giving a shit can go get you a long way in life, So.
Yeah. And, in the industry that we are in part of and love, it's like, you don't see that. And like you said, if you go up the ladder, it gets less and less, so, and, like we both, we're local musicians, so it's like, we're all in the same ocean here, we all have our boats, but we're all in the same ocean. So why not try to help? Or like, in that case that you have, that's amazing. That's it's, and you've been able to do that. And I actually want to ask you about that. It's like, okay, you got the song you're going to release. You have, your, the saxophone player from your favorite band, which I would then presume is probably your favorite saxophone player.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And then it's like, okay, you just released Folsom Prison, and that had Johnny Cash's bass player on it. How does that come about?
Dave Rowe.
Yeah, how does that happen?
So Dave Rowe was actually doing an autograph session at Winter NAMM. And it was a cool autograph session, man. It was him. It was Rex Brown from Pantera. Okay. It was Robert Trujillo from Metallica. Like, it was a good session.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Like 4 or 5 people I never heard of in it too. They really, like, it was a Warwick thing. And what they do, I don't know if you know them or not, they make real high end, like, good stuff, but you don't see them as often, Mm-hmm. But they just, when they do their autograph sessions at NAMM, they just take all their artists and they put them in one session. And then you're going down the line and it's like, you get like 15 autographs, you sit in line for like whatever, it's a long line. But I just stood in line and I had that little quick interaction with Dave Rowe, and he was a cool dude. I think he even drew like a mustache on himself on the picture there. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, we just kind of we're having fun with him, and even though it was only that little brief interaction, it's not like he remembered us, but just when you meet somebody and you're like, that's a cool dude, like, that opens doors just in your mind of what you can possibly do. So when we did this, we had actually done this cover already. Like, we'd been playing this for a long time. Yeah. We've recorded it already. Like, Tyler actually wrote his bass part already on the song. And like, we had almost a completed version of a song. And then I was like, what would be really cool? Like, what would be a really cool gimmick to help the song promote itself? Like, how can you give yourself credibility as a local band? Let's get the damn guy. Let's get the actual guy to play on it. He was cool. I wonder if he would do it. And so a lot of times it's just getting that, like, that in a sense requires a little bit of a nerve in your brain to even think you can do that, right? Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think you gotta skirt the line between, like, you got to have confidence in yourself to be able to achieve cool things, but you also can't be full of yourself. You can't be like, well, he better do it, So you could, we're respectful, and I looked him up. I found his website. It's a lot easier to interact with people in the music industry now than ever before. A lot of them have websites and stuff, and the ones that don't, I'm Facebook friends with a lot of, I would consider, famous people that I don't really know. Yeah. It's kind of cool. Like, and when you have, when you start in a local band and you make those connections, well, those people, like, if you're friends with me, you have a mutual friend with a lot of these people now. Now, if you friend them, like, for one, you'll be able to find them on Facebook. 2, you'll show up with mutual friends. 3, if you have a really cool, like, profile picture of you playing a show and, looking as badass as you're ever going to look, like they might just click confirm. And now you can message them and they'll see it. Yeah. And maybe you can convince them, and that's kind of the game we're in now is, it's not just Facebook, right? You can literally reach out to people on Twitter and Instagram. It's just usually a fruitless effort. But at the same time, if you pick your spots, some people aren't as popular with their inbox as you might think. And they'll read your message and they'll think about it. And then they'll do it or, and they'll either do it for free or, Dave did it for us where it was cheap, man. Okay. It was cheaper to have him do it than it cost us to go in the studio and record bass ourselves. It was great. We gave him some cheese for his efforts and his name and he gave us back, he played the stand-up bass. So it was really cool getting his raw tracks back because they were percussive.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I should send them so you can hear them. They're cool, when they're just not mixed in with everything. And he upcharged us a little bit because he couldn't write his own part. Couldn't write to our song. He had to fit his bass in with an existing bass, which was weird. So there's two basses in the song, But it works. It's cool, It just has a good low end to it. So that's how we got him. We literally met him. That's a cool dude. Let's just ask him. Let's look him up. Let's find him. Like I said, I'm halfway decent at the computer, and let's look him up and then let's just see what happens. And next thing you know, you get the stat. He's sending you tracks, and here we are. And it's just forever. Like what's crazy? You look him up on Spotify. You see my stupid picture because it says appears on, and that's kind of funny and it's pretty cool. So that's,
yeah, and as the a pain in the ass as the internet can be, it has also made the world a smaller place. So yeah, all you gotta do is ask, and you can. It is interesting, that you can go on Twitter or whatever, and you just ask, and they might ignore you. But they might not.
Right.
you know?
I remember I wrote a letter to Rise Against when I was a teenager. And the letter it wasn't real deep. It was, can you please send me some guitar picks? Like, it wasn't like there was a lot of like, oh, your music is done. So it had, but I didn't tell them that. I just said, hey, there was an address, I was looking through the CD booklet and there's an address in there. And I went, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And it took them like 6 months. And then I got back, like it was like Tim wrote me a handwritten note. It was on some hotel scrap paper. Dave, thanks for being a fan. See you at Summerfest. Here's some pics. And that was really cool. And so then I went and saw the Hives in Chicago. I love the Hives. We actually picked our engineer for Promise based on the Hives because he did a Hives album. And I loved what he did with the Hives. Okay. And I actually reached out to him. And he was super cool to even work with us. He's was pretty high up, dude, But I went to see them there in Chicago. They don't come around that much. They're from
Sweden.
Finland or
Sweden, I think, ain't it?
Yeah, they're from one of the Norwegian countries. Mm-hmm. And so I'm waiting after the show because I want to meet them. I want to get their autograph. Like that's when they influence not only myself, but the direction I took with the band, like that's a big deal, Yep. And so I waited. And before they came out, from the back area, and that was a really fun night. When they came out, like we went drinking, like we partied at the bar, like the bass player gave me his phone number and like I can text him now. It's like new songs, like, hey, check this. Like, so that's really, that's just a cool story. But before they come out, Tim comes walking out. Like Tim was just hanging out backstage with them, and I'm like, obviously I recognize, him because for one, he has two different colored eyeballs and, so but for two, you're just a big fan of the guy and you reckon, you grow up kind of, you idolize these people that you listen to and you love. And I'm telling him about he's like, dude, I remember that. There was 20 different letters that I decided to open and write back to one night in a hotel. We were tracking a record out there. and I just was a little bit bored and needed some time to kill. And I remember doing that, and it was cool because like years later we connected on that, you know, and it was just fun. And we were literally just standing. There was nobody else that even knew it was really him. So we're just standing out on the sidewalks of Chicago. I talked to him. He probably gave me 15 minutes of his life then to just have a chat with me about music and the music industry and their songs and what there's, you know, how I, whatever, you know, it was cool. It was just, and it wasn't like, I mean, I was being a little bit of a fanboy about it, obviously, but it was like, it felt like I got to have like a legitimate conversation with a dude that I wrote a letter to, and you know, you know what I mean? So anyway, I think that's cool. And you can do that easier almost now with the internet than you can back in the day. There's a little bit something special about sending something and getting, you know, I framed that letter. Like I'm redecorating my new house. It's going to find a spot somewhere, you know, but like this is cool. And a lot of times if you just reach out and you just, you know, you're not going to get through most times, but you will get through. Yeah. And it will happen. And it happened for us on this Johnny Cash song, you know, by getting Dave to play. It happened for me with our, you know, getting George Thorogood, getting Buddy Leach on there. You know, it happened with Stubby singing on Dayman, you know, from Lucky Boys. It's happened, you know, with a lot of different situations in life outside of that band even too, you know. It's just sometimes you just got to put yourself out there, and you got to be hardened to the rejection. Mm-hmm. And you got to be okay with it. You know, you got to go into it optimistically pessimistic, you know, and you just got to be good with that. You got to know it's going to work out, just maybe not this time, but if I keep doing it, something cool will happen. And I'm hopeful too with when we release songs. You never know what song's going to get listened to more, you know? And right now, I've been hesitant to put out a first album. So we have 14 singles out or 13 singles out right now, which is basically an album.
Yeah.
But, you know, you get to introduce new people, and it's new. And people that aren't as familiar, or there's people that they're not going to go listen to your entire back catalog. You know, they're not going to just go listen to your first CD. They want to listen to the new thing. That's human nature. So I've been, you know, we'll probably re-release all these songs on our first album, and they'll be new again, you know, and it'll be what it is. You know, we might throw some other actual new stuff out there with it, you know, because why not? But it's the more stuff you throw out there, you know, some of it sticks a little bit more, and for whatever reason, and you just got to keep that optimistic pessimism on your shoulders. So
you're gonna release a greatest hits album as your first album.
Hey, that's what Linkin Park did. Worked okay for them, right? I mean, they didn't have as many singles, but I think that they took them 10 years to write that, you know, or Hybrid Theory. I heard that it took a real long, like every band should have a good first album. You have your whole life to write it.
Yes.
And
yes,
a lot of might not have as good a second album when, you know, you get a year or two or whatever, you know, but if you can do a good second album, then you're set, right? Because you just got to keep. But you should have a good first album. Your first album, if it sucks, like you either didn't do it right, or you know, you never want to say you're just not going to be good or anything. But like, if you can't do your first album, you know, you skimped on it with cost maybe, or there's other reasons that could happen. But it looks from the outside world like you just aren't that good. You got to have a good first album.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, and you're completely right. You have your entire life to make the first one, and then the second one. You know, and it also happens too is that first one, you're on the struggle. You know, you're working hard. You're doing all the bullshit, all that stuff. So all that feeds in. Your life is one way, and then if you get to that second album, your life has changed. You know, obviously you've gone through all the struggle, but you're not struggling maybe quite as much, so then maybe a different edge happens. It's kind of this strange thing, and then that's why a lot of times, we've heard countless bands. Yeah, I like their first record. Or you hear, a band's got 6 albums, say, and everybody's like, oh yeah, I love the first one.
Right.
It seems to always be that way,
It happens a lot. And yeah, I mean, you can kind of, I've found at least in my crazy head, you can circumvent that system a little bit by just going the singles route. Mm-hmm. And you can build up a little bit more of a fan base. You can build up, it's hard to just go cold turkey or drop an album. No one is listening to you. No one cares. No one's heard of you. And then make that album a success. That's tough. That used to be more of the model when you had to drop physical CDs and there was distribution and there was, but nowadays where it just, it's going to go live to the world, at 11 p.m. Central tonight, or 12, midnight Eastern, whatever. Like when the CEO of Spotify tells you should release a lot more singles as a general practice for all musicians, that dude has cheated musicians out of $1 billion. Yeah. So I'm going to take it for it. He knows what he's doing, and we all have opinions about Mr. Eck, and his whole shtick, but not even getting into that. Just from the point of view of this is a dude that not only is he the CEO of this company, but he also wrote a lot of the code, and it's his kind of was always his baby. He knows something about it. He knows something about how it works. You could think he's a piece of shit or not. It's up to you, but you should take his advice. You don't have to like the guy. You got to take. He knows what he's talking about, and we've definitely. You never know, right? Because we never released an album yet. So we don't have full data to say, but I remember dropping I Can't See the Stars, and 11 people listened to it the day I dropped it. And that hurt. Because, that's just your buddies. That's not and that's not even that many of them. You know what I mean? So, I think that there were reasons why that, and why that happened. And you got to learn from it, too. So when the more releases you do, that's its own little skill / voodoo magic is all right, how do you release a song? How do you release something? You learn because you do it and you fuck it up. And then you go, how did I fuck that up? And then you try to fuck it up a different way next time. And that's life. And then you die, but that's what you do. And I think that there's a lot that we've learned from that process. I think that, it's funny because I Can't See the Stars is a lot of people's favorite song. I don't think it had anything to do with the quality of the song. And you grow up thinking that that's what's going to matter. Well, if I can record good stuff, people will hear it. And that's just, you got to record good stuff. Yeah. But I think our current state of our music industry has shown that you also don't have to record good stuff. You kind of just can record, if it's good, that's great. And you get a nice little pat on the back, and you'll actually get real fans that like what you're doing, and that's cool, and that's real. But as far as just a stream count, how do you release it? You need to get people to click on it. How do you do that? And that's the success nowadays with bands. We're learning.
Yeah. And I think the last time we saw each other, we did talk about that, and that's, I'm an old school guy. You put out the album, but you know what? That doesn't always, that doesn't work all that great anymore, unfortunately. So you guys, you've been really smart with it as far as that's how you're doing it. You at the time you were like, we're going to release a single a month, and I don't know if you've quite been on that schedule, but it doesn't matter. You're still just releasing singles. We
tried that. That seemed like a cool idea. And we did it for a while, and it just kind of, we weren't getting quite the return. It also felt like we weren't taking as full advantage of songs because it was just not enough time. And then it also was going to be, we had a little bit of a head start, but we didn't want it to turn into a quality control issue either, because the songs are, it's cool when they have a solid release, but the lifespan of the song is a lot more important than a good release. And so to me, it's, I mean, we have Lee Cheney. He's a buddy of mine from high school. You know, he does all our artwork, and I think he's amazing at it. I mean, I really think he's the most talented person in the band. And he, you know, you don't want to like be rushing him either. Yeah. You know, like it's a process. Hey, here, I have this crazy idea. Like I told him one idea, like we had the Lucky Leprechaun song, and that's like, it's a cool song, and at the same time, it's our stupidest song. It's both, right? Because that was an accident. It was just, I went into the studio and I was warming up, and the guy hit record, and it was cool. Okay. So it's just me playing acoustic guitar for like a minute, and that's the song. So that's kind of dumb. It's not like a real song, but surprisingly enough, that was the only thing we kept from that whole session. So, you know, that was like my first time in a studio. It was before OUTDrejas. That was me going in by myself, just throwing $50 to throw some tracks down. You know, we all start somewhere, right? Okay. And that was kind of what happened there. And so, I literally asked Lee, I'm like, can you draw like a leprechaun that's lucky? Like, can you draw a leprechaun winning a slot machine? And he freaking did it. And it's amazing. And if you look at the detail, like, you got this crazy, like, I don't know if you even have a picture of it. Like, I think it was something I sent earlier, but like, it's this really cool looking graphic picture of this leprechaun winning the slot machine. And instead of like the 3 cherries or the 3 sevens or whatever, it's 3 OUTDrejas logos, you know, winning. And then there's all these coins everywhere. And if you zoom in on all the coins, they have a little OUTDrejas logo on each coin. And I love that. I love the detail and just how cool he makes each artwork has its own little subtleties about it, you know, because he really does a great job, and he just gives enough of a shit to do a great job. And so you don't want to rush that either, you know. So if you're sitting on some of these, like if I was to do something like that again and I wanted to follow through with it, I really would already have it all done before I started it. It's kind of like, you kind of learn that the hard way. It's like a Netflix special. They release it all when it's done. They don't release half of it, and then while they're working, you know, they do a season, and then it's, okay, we got all of this, we're going to package it up real nice and release it how we're releasing it. And that's what I would do if I was going to do something like that, where I would make sure it wasn't 80% done, it was 100, you know, because, yeah, you never want to sacrifice your quality. You always want to, with your art that you're putting out there, at least if no one listens to it ever, you know that you did as good a job as you could, and you're still proud of it then. And there's something to that, you know? So you don't want to take that away from yourself ever. So. Yeah.
No, great point. Yeah, absolutely great point. Well, then I guess that brings it to my next thing is like, OUTDrejas is you. It's been, you know, you've had a bunch of different versions of the band over the years, right?
Do you want to know why? I have a really good reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Because I would disagree with that statement for the first time in the band's history, that OUTDrejas is me. Okay. I think it was me, but I actually think that it is actually turned into a real band. Okay. And which is funny to say, if our origin story is, I think, an interesting one. So I'll tell you. I was playing bass in a metal band, and that happened because I'd been playing guitar for maybe 10 years, and I thought I didn't suck, right? And that's where you do that as a musician. You never really admit to yourself that you're necessarily like good or not. You just try to suck less. Like that's, and I'm self-taught too. So I didn't have a real way to measure metrics, like in things in life, usually when you're good at them, it's because you're measuring yourself against a metric. Yep. Well, how do you measure guitar playing? You can't. That's why there is no such thing as the best guitarist ever. There's no metric. You either suck or you don't. And that's like our metric. We don't have a better version than that. You just, if you're meh, then you don't suck. Congratulations, and some people might like what you do, and so I've been maybe playing for 10 years or whatever. And I wanted to be in a band. And how do you join a band? Well, that's hard. So I just went on Craigslist and there was a metal band. They needed a bass player. I went out that day, bought a bass at Guitar Center, and I was their bass player. I'd never played bass before,
Okay.
But it can't be that hard, right? There's good bass players that make it hard, but there's also not good bass players. And, if you try hard enough at anything, you can succeed, right? Mm-hmm. Theoretically. Yeah. At least if you're a guitar player, you should be able to learn how to play bass if you want to. Yeah. If you really try, So I had the right mindset, which is 80% of the battle. And so I'm playing these shows now. I don't really look like a metal bass player. I'm wearing a fedora and I was wearing a cape. I used to wear a black cape with a black tie and a white shirt. And that was my look. And I wear these collared shirts actually because I get rug burn on my shoulder if I wear like a t-shirt. So there's actually a reason behind it. I used to not do that as much, but then I was like, okay. And then I would wear a collared shirt so I wouldn't get the rug burn. And I never really loved the look I had on stage with that. And as soon as you throw a crappy suit jacket over it, I was like, all right, that's just ironic and punk enough where I can live with that, And so it also makes you sweat a lot. Yes. And so you look tense. Like, have you ever seen Angus Young at the end of an AC/DC show? Like, that dude, he played a rock show. Yes. He did. You don't have, and I wanted to be able to do that too. Like, I like looking just like dog shit after the show's over because no one questions your heart if you look fucking terrible. So every show, that's the goal, is how do I look like shit at the end? And you get really into it and you jump around and but anyway, back to the origin of the band. So we're playing these shows. We're playing some of the local clubs, and we were playing one place. It was called Mojo's at the time. It's in Joliet, Illinois. It turned into the Tree. Now it's the Forge. Now it's for sale. So who the hell knows? But it's a cool place. They got a lot of big name bands. I mean, I've seen Real Big Fish there before. Just since we talked about them earlier, like they get that kind of level of band, and it's cool. And so we were playing there a little bit, and I got the reputation as the goofy bass player that's playing a lot of blues scales because he doesn't really know how to play metal bass and runs around with a fedora and cape. And I actually had a pair of slack shorts, and I cut them. They were slacks, and I made them into slack shorts because I cut them with scissors, and it was. And I had Cookie Monster socks that almost went up to my knees. Like it was a look. I didn't really. Angus talked about how it took him a little while to find his look, before he was the schoolboy. He dressed up as Spider-Man, I heard, for a show. Like okay. He really, it takes you a little bit till you figure out what you want and the reasons and whatever. And so finally we're playing and I got to know, one of the guys that was booking shows at this Mojo's place. And I went up to him and I just said, hey, like, I have another band. It's a rock band. Can we play a show sometime? And I didn't have another band. I was full of shit. Okay. And so he booked my fake band to a show. So I had a month. And that's why we're called Outrageous. He's like, well, what's the name of your band? And I like, panicked and I'm like, Outrageous, and so that's why we're the band that has the singers named the band after himself like an asshole. That's why we are what we are, because it never was real. It was never supposed to be real. Like it was. I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to be real so badly.
Wow.
That I made a fake band, and that's some pressure on you, you know, because our show was next month. So, all right. And it was a battle of the bands too. So you're going to get judged. You don't want to come in last place at the battle of the bands. Like there's just some, you know, have some self-respect, you know? So, so I that's kind of why we had a lot of members, is when you start a band that way, that's not a bunch of friends going, let's do it. That's one dude with a bad idea trying like hell to make it work. And so my buddy Stu, you know, he'd never played drums before. He was a really good violinist. He actually is amazing at violin and piano too. He's probably one of the, if not the like best musician that like I know. He's really good at like, he's one of those, you know, he can harmonize with you on cue. Doesn't need to practice. Just, I just know how to harmonize with anything, you know. One of those kind. Well, hey, can you play drums? I've never played drums before, Dave. That's all right. I got a drum set. You got a month, you know. And then we needed a bass player. His brother had never, you know, never played bass before. You know, you got a month. I got a bass you can use, you know. And so that was the first iteration of the band. And I'd written a lot of songs in college that I just had on my, and then there are a lot of songs that we still play. Okay. Promise, Down the Road, Something New. You know, there's like a lot of those, you know, the one with the saxophone player, George Thorogood sax. I wrote that on a stairwell in college, and it's still, you know, and I'm 30 now. Like it's been a few years, you know, like I graduated at whatever the hell, 22, you know? So we took second place at the Battle of the Bands out of 10. And we got to open for Puddle of Mud. That was our prize. And at the Puddle of Mud show, we weren't dicks to all the other bands. So we befriended, you know, like All for One, One for All, you know, the shit they talk about. We actually tried to do it. Okay. And so we found ourselves being asked to open for one of the other bands at the House of Blues in Chicago. And it was like, no fucking way. So this fake band that was a bad idea is going to play the House of Blues. And they treat you like you're hot shit at the House of Blues. They give you your own dressing room. Your fridge is stocked, all you can, whatever. Like you get your own bathroom. I signed my name right below 3 Days Grace in the bathroom. You know, that's like, they treat you like you're a big deal at the House of Blues.
Holy shit.
And so now we're playing House of Blues? Like, are you kidding me? And then from there, I got a guitar pick endorsement because the guy saw us. They owned a guitar pick company and was like, hey, I want to endorse your band. You guys are cool. And now I'm getting to go to the NAMM show and all that. And then at the NAMM show, I picked up a Black Star endorsement. That's a fucking cool thing. So if you go on Black Star Amp's website, you see my picture. That shouldn't be. Like, that's how it feels, you know? But it just all stemmed from this one idea that I had that was kind of a ballsy move, but it was a lot of work, right? I mean, to come up with a half hour of original material in a month.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I dabble with a lot of instruments. I'm specialized on guitar, but I can play keyboard. Not well, but I can play keyboard. I can play the major and minor chords on it. I can play drums. Not well, but the same thing. You know, I can Ringo a song. No big deal. You know, and so I had to force myself to play really shitty bass in my metal band, you know? And so if you can do the basics really well, you can get far in the music world, you know? And so kind of teaching people how to play those instruments while they wrote their own parts too and ton of credit to them for learning it. And next thing you know, it just, the band felt more and more real. And then at some point, I don't even know when that point was, to be honest, because so much cool shit had happened before then. But at some point, you just kind of said, like, wow, I guess we're a real band, you know? I guess that didn't happen until maybe that happened. We headlined the House of Blues show. And as I was going on stage for that, I was like thinking to myself, I guess I should say we're a band. Like, because we're here and we're getting to do this shit. So that was kind of our story. And that's why, so when you say that Outrageous is me, I think it was, you know, but now when you fake it long enough, you know, like a friend of mine, his name is Chris Long, and it's cool that I can actually call him a friend. We talk and we chat on the phone and stuff. And it's cool because he, you know, he's been in the music industry for a long time. He was the manager of Crossfade. He helped, you know, kind of in the California area, you know, it's discovered like a little bit like Queens of the Stone Age, Rage Against the Machine. Like he was around those bands when they were coming up. You know, he maybe didn't manage all of them, but he managed some and he helped others. And you know what I mean? He was just in it. He was in that era. Yeah. And he was a player there. And he's a cool guy. And he told me a piece of advice one time when I asked him. And he said, well, the music industry is, you can imagine it's like a spinning record. And what you need to do is you need to make that record spin as fast as you can on your own. That's your momentum. And if the faster you get that thing to spin on your own, the more shit that's just going to catch on to it automatically, you know? And that's been good advice. That feels like how it works, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you go and play a show with this band, you know, 215, you meet this really cool guy named Johnny. And then next thing you know, you're on his podcast. You know what I mean? Like that's how it works, right? Yeah. That's the music industry. So that's just been, that works with people wanting to join your band too. You know, if you go out and you play a cool show, they might, if they're in a situation where their band's breaking up, or they're whatever, which happens. There's a lot of drama in the local scene. They see your band, and if you guys click, like, and that's kind of what happened with all the members right now. So it went from being a band that were doing a bunch of guys doing me a solid, and it was not a long-term commitment. It was, I don't want to be in a band. I'll play this stupid show for you, Dave, but I have a life. I don't want to be doing this shit, man. It went from that to, I want to be in this band. I want to be, let's fucking do it. Let's do it. Yeah. And that's a different mentality. And that's what I feel like we have right now is we have, you know, musicians in the band that are really talented and they want to be in a band and it doesn't feel like it'll always, I mean, I think it has to have some element of it's the Dave show. It has to, because that's the foundation of it. But it's not that on its own. It is actually a band in my mind now. And it wasn't always. So it's cool. So it's a little bit of a rant, but that's, you know, it's been a big evolution from where it started. And so I actually feel like this is a group of people now, not just one crazy guy, you know?
Well, you know, and like, I know I've told you this before, the band that you have now, they're fucking amazing. If there was ever a chance that I could steal a drummer, it would be yours because Jeremy is fucking awesome. I know the time.
I'll tell Jeremy that.
The time that I saw you guys, it was just like, okay, you guys are fucking awesome, right? But I'm like, fuck, that drummer is really goddamn good, you know, and
yeah, he's good.
A very good drummer makes a band, you know, so it's just like, holy fuck, is he good? But yeah, your band,
he works hard too. Yeah. There's guys that are really good, but he works hard too. Yeah. I think that I gotta give him credit for that too. The behind the scenes stuff, he works really hard at too. So
yeah, I see him post like on your, you have the Facebook group and stuff like that. He's always putting stuff on there. So it's like, yeah, the group of guys, and obviously they're they're not only they in the band, they're working for the band too, you know. So it's like, you know, and that's part of what you say is, you know, it's not necessarily your band anymore. They're like all of the people that you have like taken ownership, and it's theirs as well, you know. So you really are in a. It's unfortunate what's happening in the world, because you guys are you are, through your hard work and obviously your live show and the songs that you write, because they're great, you have put yourself in a fantastic position. Everything is like, it's there, you know, and that is cool, because it'd be one thing if you were a dick, but you're far from a dick, you know. So it's like, it's neat, and you know, whatever happens in it, you know, obviously I'm assuming you're one of those people that like you want to play shows, like it's in your blood, like you want to be out there, you don't want to be, you know, sitting talking to my dumb ass on a podcast, you know. But you know, yeah, you guys, you have it has worked out that you are set up to do really cool shit whenever you're allowed to do really cool shit again.
Oh, we appreciate it, man. It's been I love the journey. I don't know what the destination will be, you know, but I've enjoyed the journey. It's been quite a journey, you know, just and there's been a lot of things that I never thought I'd get to do, and I've already done, you know, and there's other things that hopefully I'll still get to do, you know, that obviously I haven't yet, but like, it's been fun. And I mean, the people that we've worked with, even the ones that aren't household names, you know, like they're just, a lot of them are just really talented. Like our shout out to our primary engineer, Matt Doherty. That dude, you watch him like just behind Pro Tools, and it's actually fun to watch the guy behind Pro Tools, because he knows all the shortcuts, and he's got a good ear, and he himself is a good musician, which makes him a good engineer. Yeah. You know, and I mean, and he, you know, he's worked with Disturbed. He's worked with, you know, Saint Asonia. You know, he's worked, like, he's got like one of those rap sheets where he was Johnny K's primary assistant for a while. And Johnny K's a big deal out of Chicago. You know, he like was the primary Disturbed guy in Three Doors Down, and you know, he's like, if you look that guy up, he's, you know, he's done a lot of music that you probably love, you know, and our guy was right along for the ride, you know, so he's got a lot of cool battle stories. He's fun to work with, like, and I don't take that stuff for granted. So I definitely, I've enjoyed working with him. I've enjoyed our mastering engineer, Ryan Smith, did AC/DC's last album. Okay. And he does our stuff. Like, well, that's cool, you know, and I mean, he's out of New York. He's out in actually Nashville now, but when he was out of New York, like, I mean, when I was in New York and I said, hey, can you give me a tour? And he just gave me like an hour-long tour, didn't charge me, you know, and it was just cool to see, like, that's, you know, I think he did like an AC/DC record. He did The Fall of Ideals by All That Remains, which to me is the best metal album ever. Like, I love that album. And I think he might have even done like an Adele record. Like, you know what I mean? Coldplay. He's got like, it's crazy. Yeah. And then he's not only doing your stuff, he's giving you your time. He's developing a little bit of a relationship with you, you know, like, it's just cool, man. Yeah. So I appreciate all of it. And, you know, the journey is the best part. If you don't enjoy going into a live show with 10 people there, if that's not fun to you, if you think this is a waste of your, then you're not cut out for it. Yeah. You got to go in there. You got to challenge yourself to get those 10 people into what you're doing, which is way harder than a room full. You know, the herd mentality. Yeah. It's harder. Cool if you're playing in that one room. You're automatically cool on some level. But if you're that band playing to 10 people, everybody knows that's not a good show. how do you convince them it actually is? You know, and that's, if you can do that, that's amazing. And those prepare you. So you got to enjoy. I enjoy every freaking one. I love all of them. It's a blast, and I'm glad I get to do it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And
I mean, you obviously have a blast up there, and like what you were saying is a packed room. Obviously, the shows are fun when it's a packed room, but
right,
you don't have to win those people over because they're already there to see you. Typically,
right?
You know, whereas the one with 8 or 10 people in it, they might have just moseyed in. So you have to give them an experience regardless. And that can be super fun on its own, because then you can have an actual personal interaction with each one of them while you just happen to be playing loud ass rock music.
Well, and if you're, and luckily we haven't had a lot of shows like that recently. Yep. We had a lot coming up more so.
Oh yeah.
You know, we've been lucky enough to get on a lot cooler shows lately, but a lot of times you're just playing for the other bands. Have you ever been on one of those shows where all the bands just play for one another?
Yeah.
Those are tough sometimes, man. You know, but
everybody's sitting and staring like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be impressed, but what's on that guy's fucking pedal board?
Right. Yeah, it's weird. I've heard comedians talk about it in stand-up, how they don't like doing stand-up for other comedians or whatever. It's just like a different, like, they wear different goggles or something when they're judging. It feels that way sometimes in the local scene. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You know, it depends on the band. But, you know, hopefully you just hope everybody has a good time, whatever that means, you know.
Okay, there you have it. Part 1, David Drejas from OUTDrejas. OUTDrejas.com. I hope you had a lot of fun. I had a great time. Part 2 is great too. So that'll be out next week. I appreciate everybody. Have a great week, day, everything. Have a great everything. And just remember to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Bye now.